So if you are in the dating and relationship world at all, maybe you're dating, maybe you're in a relationship, you just may at some point end up running into some rejection. Maybe a guy ghosts you, maybe he doesn't respond to your text messages or your emails. Maybe you're in a relationship and you get cheated on and you end up going through a divorce or a really bad breakup. And this can be really devastating to your self-esteem, to your confidence, starts making you question whether you're really worth it, whether you're really enough to be in the kind of relationship that you want to be in. And so today we're going to be talking about how to make yourself rejection proof, how to stay strong and confident even in the face of all of this rejection. Hello, my name is Matthew Coast, and today with me we have a special guest. Her name is Marni Battista, and Marni has been if you don't know who she is, which you should. If you don't, you should. She is a rock star in our industry. She is an amazing coach, a facilitator, and an expert in dating and relationship areas. And she has helped a lot of women in just taking ownership of their lives and their relationships and making sure that they get into their happily ever after. And so thank you so much for being with us today, Marni.
I'm so happy to be here. It's an amazing opportunity to change the world one person at a time.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
That's right. And so this topic of being rejection proof, why do you think this is a really important topic to talk about?
Well, I think, look, when I started this journey for myself, I think of, my 16-year-old birthday party where I invited like my boyfriend and he didn't show up, and I was rejected. There are so many micro and macro traumas we have in our whole life around rejection and abandonment. And what happens is the process of dating is opening yourself up to meeting people, and it's not going to be a match like 99% of the time, right? Like you need one. So you're going to get rejected most of the time. So what we know is that in order to date with dignity, with confidence, to be attractive and attracting the right kind of person that you really want, resilience is key. And it'll also help you in the relationship that you establish with that person. So in order to be a person who is resilient, more happy, have more peace, have more joy, have better intimacy, you have to learn how to experience rejection as not personal and not a reflection of who you really are at your core. And when you can do that, like you're a queen, and dating can be fun, and you're a more happy, fulfilled person.
Absolutely. No, I totally agree. And I'm really, you sent over this slide earlier, and it's got all this stuff on it. And I can't wait to find out like what we're actually like, how you kind of navigate this area. Cause this is something that I know is very, very important, but it's also something that I haven't really touched on specifically. And so I'm really curious about how you're going to be talking about this. So let's get started. What are we doing here? How do we, let's take a scenario or something and dive into it. Like what should a woman do if she's facing rejection? She's having a hard time. She's taking it personally, which is really hard not to. What should she do?
So I think the number one thing to do, and this is such a great thing, is to start, and I call them like romantic ruts, because what we want to do is I want you to kind of, with this sort of philosophy, I am the common denominator in all my failed relationships, right? Where I've been rejected. I want you to kind of start thinking about what are the moments that you have in those ruts where you feel like you get triggered by the experience of being rejected. Because what we know is, if I were to sort of take the average scenario, you start out, let's say it's Sunday night, and you are like, Monday, forget the last guy, forget my last 3 dates, forget the boyfriend, fresh start, it's spring, right? You get online and you feel so much possibility, and maybe you send out some messages. Or maybe you look at who's messaged you and you're not thrilled with who's reaching out to you. what happens is you have a whole lot of feelings and thoughts. And if you didn't get what you want, or you got what you didn't want, you are going to have a moment for an experience of rejection. I'm going to say that again because all our dissatisfaction around dating can be broken into two things that cause a stress reaction, which usually makes us feel like there's something wrong with us. You don't get what you want, or you get what you don't want, right? You get those guys reaching out and you're like, really? Is that what I have to choose from? Or someone that you reach out to doesn't respond. So those are these moments where you are going to have an experience of a feeling. And most of us, our brain is wired to make meaning of the feeling where we feel out of control and uncertain. And so what's going to happen is we connect a bunch of dots, and what happens is we make it mean typically there's something wrong with us. So when we get into those deep, dark soul of the night moments, what can happen, Matthew, is, and people don't want to admit this, so it's okay, is why did he do that? What does it mean when he did that? How come this is happening to me? All distills down to this little funnel in your rut where the central question is, what's wrong with me? And that's kind of where it starts. So you can put up the slide unless you have any other questions just about what I've said.
No, here's the slide. Yeah, no, I mean, I totally get it. And you know, I've experienced this before. Women in our community, I hear this all the time. And a lot of them just feel like they just want to give up. You know, they want to quit. They want to just swear dating off altogether, work on their business, you know, get involved in hobbies, you know, exercise a whole lot, do whatever they can to stop thinking about this, because there's so much pain that's kind of associated with it. And I think it hits at such a deep level that it's something where you're like, okay, I've got to do something about this. And if you don't really have a path on what to do, it's like, okay, let me just focus somewhere else so I'm not feeling it so much.
Well, yeah, and that's what's really tragic about it is that, you know, the amygdala, the part of your brain, I call it, based on this work by Bessel van der Kolk, it's like a smoke detector for your operating system, right? And it's constantly scanning, you know, is it safe? Is it safe? Is it safe? And when we get so many rejections in a row, repeated, especially if it's triggering rejection or abandonment from your history, your nervous system can only take so much. So if you have that feeling like, I'm out, like I can't take it anymore, that is a sign that it's time to start flipping the paradigm rather than trying harder or turning away or avoiding. We want to implement the system that I've got here on the slide that I'm going to go over with you. So let's start with that moment that you described where you're like, screw this. Like, I'm out. I can't do this anymore. So number one, I'm going to put up this. I used to be a nursery school teacher, so I like signs. And number one is you have to trust the process.
Yeah.
Okay? Because
Yep.
it is a process. You are not going to show up and be like, cool, you know, like I just did what Marni and Matthew said and I'm instantly healed and everything's resolved. We are literally retraining the brain for years, decades, multiple decades of neural wiring, that when that moment happens, we go to the deep dark soul of the night. What's wrong with me? Okay. So it's a process and you're going to practice it. So the first thing our brain normally will do is, what's wrong with me, is a reflection of this core message that we get usually from our childhood. That's a version of I suck. I'm not enough. I'm not lovable. Or a lot of your viewers might have the one of I'm too much, right? Have you ever been told like, sit down, be quiet, right? Like you're too loud, you're too big. A lot of women will hear like, I'm intimidating, I'm too successful. So you find your flavor of I'm not enough. And if you're really smart and you achieve a lot in other areas of your life, which you probably do, The second after you go, what's wrong with me? You go, you know what? What's wrong with me? You're like mad at yourself that you think what's wrong with me. You're mad at yourself that you haven't figured it out. You start beating yourself up. Your brain wants to find the answer. It wants to be in control. So it starts looking back at the string of text messages. Did I say something wrong? You might post it up and be like, hey, does this sound right in a group that you're in on Facebook? Maybe you ask Matthew, right? Like, do you see where I went wrong here? You might send it to your friends, your best guy friend. I used to have a guy friend who was my wingman, and he would just like face palm me all the time. Like, I can't believe you did that. Right? So we're trying to figure it out because we need an answer. And what we do is we start to go into regret and remorse, self-doubt, self-pity, which leads to that apathy, which is like, I'm not motivated, I'm out. So we need to give you the antidote. So the secret antidote is this. I got another little visual for you. This.
There you go.
Okay. You need the purple heart toward yourself. So the first part of the process in that slide is self-compassion. Now, here's the thing, ladies. You are so good at compassion. I know this because if you date a guy who's a fixer-upper, you're like, oh, it's okay. I feel so bad. You know, his mom left when he was 12, right? Or he's having a really hard time at work. I'm just going to make like 4 meals for him and pay for dinner. If your kids are hurt, if your family member at work, you have compassion. We're so good at directing compassion outwardly. The first part of this antidote is self-compassion. So all of the research that we know, there's a woman named Kristen Neff, who is like one of the leading researchers around self-compassion. And she has done studies that show that women and men in long-term relationships are the most happy when they can practice self-compassion. So in that moment, instead of saying, I suck, why do I suck? What's wrong with me that I suck? After I read the book, I went to therapy, I have the t-shirt, I've done the work. You're going to flip it and you're going to be like, why does it make perfect sense that I'm really upset about this? Right? So you are going to show yourself some love. Okay. So the first piece of this, and there's actually studies that show we want to activate, Kristen Neff calls it the mammalian caregiving system. So you get bonus points if you actually do a behavior associated with those thoughts. So it might look like holding your own hand, right? So just saying like, why does it make perfect sense? Of course it makes sense. Like this guy and I had a really good conversation, or on the date he said, I'll call you. Like it makes perfect sense. And you might want to stroke your cheek. You can also do your ear, you know, if you are feeling like you're in a place where you can even put your hand on your belly. So you want to have this loving conversation toward yourself like you would to another person. That will get the part of your brain called your prefrontal cortex, the part that is a grown-up adult, a grown-ass woman, as we like to say, a GAW, back online, and it'll get out of focusing on him and what's wrong with you into a place of self-compassion and self-love. So that is the first place where you sort of pivot from your usual negative self-talk. Make sense?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay. All right, so let's keep going. So remember, you're like, oh God, that took so much work. That's why you're trusting the process. Okay.
Trust the process.
Trust the process. Okay, number 2. Okay, so after you give yourself a little love and some self-compassion, you are going to create feelings of self-love, self-worthiness. I always say you want to be the person you want to attract. And you want to attract an amazing person, and you're going to like give this person all the love that's in your heart. And you're going to want this person to receive that love, because we've all been in relationships where we're giving all our love and the person isn't receiving it. The person is rejecting us, right? So you've just given yourself all this love. So now you're going to let yourself receive it. So instead of giving yourself a list of reasons why you're wrong, because your brain is going to feel so uncomfortable with all this self-compassion, you are going to practice self-love. You're going to remember that pain is inevitable, suffering is optional. You're going to remember that when you put your heart out there, like you're such a warrior for even dating and putting yourself out there, that part of the process is it's not going to be a match, right? So you're going to like love on yourself for being courageous, for putting yourself out there, for becoming informed, and also for taking action. One of my favorite things to do is to get a little book, like I call it a brag book, and put it by your bed or in your desk and just pull it out and write down 50 reasons why you're lovable, right? Write a love letter to yourself. So once you start to be in this process, and when it's not a match or you have an experience of what you're going to use the words up until now, you used to call rejection. Now it's just information. Now it's just the process of dating. You are going to be filled with self-love. And then all of a sudden, you're like, wait a minute, this is dating. Like all these misses are not a reflection of me at all. They're a reflection of the actual dating process, right? Like I'm out there. This guy's a match. This guy's not a match. Because guess what? There's amazing men out there, and there's men who aren't so amazing, right? Just because you run into a few of them or even many of them, as you will in the experience of putting yourself out into the world, it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. So now you're full, right? You're full. This is when I say to you, yes.
I love all these props that you have. It's
Thank
great.
you. I'm getting really good at pandemic education. So, okay. So instead of dating being this, where you're like, no, I don't want to do it anymore. Every time you're in an experience of it's not a match, what are you going to say? You're going to be like, yes, yes, queen, right? I am dating. I'm putting myself out there. It makes perfect sense. I'm disappointed, frustrated, rejected. You're going to feel your feelings. You're going to start to have self-love, and then you're going to be resilient, which means that when it's not a match, you're going to practice my favorite word, which I don't have a little stick for, and that is next, right? It's not a match. Next. A great way to think about this is ask yourself, am I going to care about this 6 weeks from now? Am I going to care about this one dude, who I don't even know his real name? He was just like passionate for life on Match.com. Do I care about him 6 weeks from now? I don't even know him. Do I care about him 6 months from now, 6 years from now? No, because I am resilient. So you're going to practice next, which when you're in that moment of yes, you're going to say, so what? Now what? So what? Now what? Write it down on a Post-it note. Write it down, put it on your mirror. Guess what I have on the back of Trust the Process? Post-it notes so that you can remind yourself to trust the process. Okay, so go back to the slide, Matthew.
Sure.
Okay, so now we are resilient. When you are resilient, you are rejection proof. That means no man can reject you. When you stop focusing on him and start focusing on you and what you're learning and what you want, you can start doing what we call assess and adjust, which means that you're in control. So if you get feedback or data around the dating results you're having, and maybe you're not getting first dates, maybe you're not getting past the first date, maybe you're not getting past the third date, maybe you're not dating, maybe you have multiple 3 to 4 month relationships that never work out. That's feedback. That's data. That is the curriculum you need to learn in your life, as a mentor once told me. So when you have that feedback, you're in control of your dating process. And you can put yourself out there. You can ask for what you want. You can tell someone that you're dating your preferences because you're not worried about him not liking you or him not being interested because you told him that you prefer to do a Zoom call before you meet him, right? Because think about all those decisions when you're not doing this are made from fear of rejection. That right there, that's like mind blowing, right? All the decisions that we make, the things that we text, the things that we say, that we overthink are usually in an effort to avoid rejection. When you are no longer avoiding rejection, you get to state what you want, you get to have boundaries, you get to be in control. And here is the most fun part of all. When you are in control and you have all of this self-worth and self-love, guess what? You are the queen.
Yeah.
And men will be saying to you, what? Here's the camera. Yes, queen. Yes, queen.
Yes, queen.
Yes, queen. Right? And
Love
you're
it.
like, now you're choosing. When you are choosing, I mean, Matthew, you tell me, you're a guy. When a woman comes in and she's like, no F's given, and she's open and she's fun and she's playful, it's more attractive, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you've touched on so many different things already, and I hope everybody that's watching right now is taking notes. If you're not, you should get out a pen and paper and start taking some notes right now. I talk about a few different things on how to get to this space, because that is, I mean, really, it's the ideal space to get to, where you're just like, hey, whatever happens, happens. I'm going to, instead of making this date something where I'm trying to force something to happen, I've got to do all this stuff. It's like, it's a dance, it's you're just playing, you're having fun, you're it's not a big deal, and you're not attached to what's going on or what should happen, or all the different things that you could be attached to in that moment. And it's just for a man, like, because most women, when they go to dating, they're not like that. There's kind of this spectrum of different things that happen. And usually for most guys, it's somewhere between like, there's like one woman that's like got her checklist and she's going through each thing, like she's having an interview or something like that. Like, do you fit into these boxes that I have? Right. And then there's these other women, and it's really kind of a painful experience for everybody. And so when you can get to this space where you're not attached to having everything this certain way, and you're not taking everything personally, and you're just having fun and you're being playful, it's like a totally different experience, not only for the guy, but also for yourself. And you'll be far more attractive to everybody that you meet, including guys and women and friends and everybody. And you'll feel better about your life, and everything will get better. So I'm totally on board with you here, Marni.
It's what's amazing is that when you are rejection proof, like, think about all these things that, you have resiliency and self-love, like, you're more attractive at work. We have so many clients before they even get their boyfriend, like in the first 3 to 4 weeks, they get more job opportunities or a promotion at work or a great thing happening in their career, because when you are resilient, your heart is open and life doesn't feel like an emotional roller coaster. So why don't you bring the slide up, and we'll kind of, so when you're in control, you attract a high quality man. Now, why does it say forgiveness? Because I think that is kind of the watchword, is that the moment that you start to feel triggered, and this is what I'd love you to write on your Post-it note, is forgive. Because when you remember that you're going to forgive yourself, you will be able to activate this cycle of self-compassion and self-love, right? And walk through this process. So forgiveness, forgiving yourself for the mistakes that you may have made, right? When I shared my story there for a minute, yeah, my friend was like, oh God. And I was like, okay, well, what do I need to learn here? And the other thing I really want to present that you mentioned, which is so important, is that need to like interview to try and get control. That's at the top of that chart, right? All of those things are because you feel uncertain, right? And so the way that we try to create certainty is by creating control. So you're kind of trying to bypass all of these steps by interviewing, by putting your guard up, by trying to micromanage the process, by thinking you need one thing that when really, in fact, what you really need from a partner is something else. So I just want you to understand that that need to control comes in when the stakes are high. That need to control comes into place when you are trying to avoid rejection. And that way isn't working, right? We've talked about why it's not working. So it's a little bit of our mantra on our campus: the slower you go, the faster you get there. So taking the time to practice, starting with that forgiveness and self-compassion, is going to be really, really important. And then just to give you a guideline of kind of what this is globally, and this is at the top of this chart, is in order to really live courageously and date with dignity and attract your high quality person, you're going to constantly be going through this process, because now you're rejection proof, right? So now you're just starting to ask higher quality questions instead of what's wrong with me, or why did he do that, or what does it mean when he, questions of which you will never know the answer ever. You're going to start asking better questions, which is reveal, what is this trying to show me? You're going to go into that, assess, look at your results, ask questions. What is it showing me? What do I need to learn? You're going to look at those patterns, those beliefs that are holding you back. You're going to go through processes to release them, not just intellectually, but like holistically. And then you have to learn a whole lot of new skills, which we call the rejuvenate process. So that reveal, release, rejuvenate is your permanent way out of what's wrong with me, try to get control, get attached, try to micromanage to feel better, to attract a guy, which doesn't work. This reveal, release, rejuvenate, and trusting this whole process is how you're going to get a different result.
It's beautiful. The whole thing is beautiful.
Thank you. I love it.
Yeah, I love it too.
I have a special one for you, Matthew.
I mean, you rock. Well, you rock too, Marni. I love it. I love it. Cool. Yeah. I mean, man, this is really, really cool stuff right here. And I mean, there's so many different things that I could say about each one of these different things individually. We just had a woman in here who was mentioning, she said something about like how sad it is to like talk to yourself. Let's see if I can find the comment real quickly.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where I think we have so many comments. We have like hundreds of comments right now. It's one of those things where a lot of people, they focus on giving compassion and loving other people. And one of the challenges that a lot of people have is that they feel like giving themselves love is this kind of weird thing that they shouldn't be doing, or it's like, it just doesn't make sense to them or something like that. And it might feel that way at first when you're doing it. However, at least in my own experience, what I found is it's more like trying on a new pair of pants, right? Like when you first try to put the new pair of pants on, it's like this awkward thing that you're doing. But then, you buy the pants and you take it home and you wear the pants a few times. Next thing you know, they're your best fitting pants. You love these pants. You're like, dancing around and showing these pants off, and I found that it's the same thing when it comes to like having compassion for yourself and loving yourself and doing a lot of these things that Marni's talking about here.
Yeah, so I was just going to say about that. Look, here's the thing. It does feel awkward because most of us, we weren't trained up to talk nicely to ourselves. In fact, most people have a belief that the way that we get stuff done is kicking our own ass, right? Like, whether it was like study harder or work harder, and that might be how you experienced even love growing up, was like people who love me, like, kick my butt. So I want to tell you right now, there's something that we always say on our campus. You are going to have to be in uncomfortable spaces to change, right? The only way to get what you want is to do moves that feel weird and uncomfortable. It's like, I love the pants. analogy. I just read that if you're not a millennial, well, if you're any age over a certain amount, you're not supposed to be wearing skinny jeans anymore. It's like skinny jeans, right? They're comfortable, right? Like the flare thing, like you have to wear a higher shoe, or now there's straight leg pants. I'm like, I just want to wear my comfy, cozy skinny jeans with a big shirt over it, right? And we have to keep up for what it is that we want, and we have to have a new identity. I love Josie's comment, talking to myself, that seems so sad.
Yeah.
I would love to know what seems sad about it.
What's sad, Josie? What's sad?
Yeah, what's sad? And here's what I think she might be saying is because she's giving herself compassion, and feelings will come up. And my guess is that when you do it for the first time and you really hit a nerve, you might actually feel sad, right? Because you're actually loving on a part of yourself that actually needs love. And what I want you to understand is that when you turn towards yourself, it's like you think the guys are over here, right? Like they're in the other side of the room, right? And so you guys are focused on that, and talking to yourself and doing this process feels sad and hard and uncomfortable. Guess what? The quality guys are over there and you're over there. So if you turn toward yourself, you're actually facing in the right direction. It's like you are shopping in the wrong mall, people.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So did you want to say anything more specifically on being rejection proof?
Yeah, what I think I'll just add to that is that you guys have some directions, right? So when you get rejected, you're going to flip it around in your mind to it's not a match, right? So what? Now what? You're going to remember, these are, I have these little visual. You're going to say yes, right? What if the universe is protecting you from that schmo, right? Like he's not your guy. The universe, divine source, whatever, however you see it, is pointing you in the direction that you need to go, right? It's like when you take kids bowling and they have those little lanes in the side, right? It's forcing you to just keep going on this path. And so you want to be able to ask a higher quality question. What is this trying to show me? What do I need to learn? What are the patterns here? There's a million answers. But don't focus on the ones like that you can't answer, which is, why did he say that? What does it mean that you'll never know? There's a different answer for every human on the planet.
Totally agree with it. If you're here with us right now and you have a question, go ahead and post your question in the chat and we will get to it here in just a second. And so I just wanted to throw something else out there around what Marni was talking about. And it's something that we talk about here quite a bit on this channel. And it's the idea that of changing the meaning, right? Changing the meaning of what happened, instead of looking at it like there's something wrong with me and I'm the problem. Instead, in finding empowering meaning, and one of the most empowering meanings that you can find is exactly what Marni was talking about, which was, maybe there's a higher purpose for this. Maybe the universe or God or whatever you believe in, the divine, is trying to teach me some lesson. Maybe it's protecting me from being in a situation that I shouldn't be in, and instead is guiding me. What if I'm being guided towards what really is my destiny in life, towards having the relationship that I wanted, and maybe I couldn't have it coming from the space that I was in and being with the person that I was with, and instead there's something greater out there for me. And maybe I need to step up a little bit and start looking at myself a little bit differently, and start looking at men a little bit differently, and start looking at my life a little bit differently, and start, instead of turning all of this into, I've got to have it right now, and I've got to force this right now, and I've got to, turn this guy into this person that I want him to be. What if it's about, just enjoying your life and turning your life into a celebration and loving each moment and connecting with the person that's in front of you, connecting with yourself, and, just creating better moments each moment of your life, and so Yeah, I loved everything that you had to say here. Let's go through some of these things that we have. Lots of people saying hello, hi from all over the world.
Hi.
Hello, hello.
This is it. Look, you guys, turtle. The slower you go, the faster you get there. And I like to say, that every person has the person who rejected us. It can be the worst, best thing that happened to you. The relationship that like breaks you down, the biggest rejection. When I was divorced, I met this guy. He was amazing. I thought he was my person. I found out he was cheating on me with the girl who turns over the double jeopardy. I was like, what? I was devastated. I was telling a story the other day, that rejection. I thought that if I remembered how much he hurt me, I sat in bed and cried all day. I took all the tissues that were like surrounding my bed and I put them in a drawer. And I was like, that'll be the thing that makes me feel rejection proof. I'll just remember all the times my butt got kicked, and then I'll never want to go back to him, and I'll never let my guard down. It didn't work, right? Because I didn't do this process. I wasn't resilient. I didn't have self-compassion. I didn't have self-love. That experience is the one that really had me look and start asking the right questions. From that place, then I was able to change. That's the pivot moment for you. What if this moment, this rejection is actually the exact thing that was designed for you to actually have the right relationship for you, beyond what you could even imagine right now? And that's what usually happens with the people that we work with. It's beyond what you can imagine right now. So you got to be courageous and you got to be strong. And trust the process.
Trust the process. That's right. That's right. And also you have a, I wanted to mention this too real quick. You have a 5-day challenge that's coming up, right?
We do have a 5-day challenge that's coming up, and you can go to dwdlive.com to register. It's starting this week. And I'm going to actually be taking people through this process. It's called the Why Do Men Disappear Challenge. What we find out is that when men disappear, it causes us to disappear into ourselves, right? We start to lose ourselves. And so we're going to work with you. I'm going to be coaching for 5 days. You're going to have some exercises to do. We're going to start asking higher quality questions. You're going to refocus and really learn how to raise your attraction factor. And I'm going to answer that question. Is it something that you really did? Because I know your brain wants to know, is it something that you really did? So we're actually going to cover that during this challenge.
Cool. Awesome. Let's take a question, some questions here. So Nicole says, what to do when you're, I think SP means specific person. I think that's like a manifestation thing.
Okay.
Says that he isn't good with relationships, yet he's been dating someone else.
Well, I would say, so I'm going to ask you a high quality question, Nicole. What about that are you afraid to see? What truth are you afraid to see in that question? Because one thing I do know about men, having studied them for a very long time and being married to one, being married to two, but one that I actually decided to stay married to. Men say what they mean and they mean what they say. Yes, Matthew? Pretty much.
I agree.
Okay. So if he says he isn't good with relationships, he's demonstrating it to you by dating someone else and talking to you. So he's basically saying, I'm not good at relationships. See, I'm talking to you and I'm dating with someone else. I'm a jerk. Don't date me. So, Nicole, the question is that I want you to ponder and come do the challenge is, what truth am I afraid to see about this guy?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And that's a great question. I bet every single person is like, I have that question too.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Yep. Sarah says, so true. And thank you so much. So true. Kelly says, what if he's not answering my message, happy birthday? And I also asked him how he is.
Okay, so that's a great example of a question that nobody knows the answer to except this guy. And honestly, have you ever been in a car with a guy driving and you're like, what are you thinking about? And he goes, nothing. Have you ever said that, Matthew, to anyone? What are you thinking about? You go, nothing. And you're not actually thinking about anything, right?
I've been asked that question a whole bunch.
Yeah, and the answer is nothing. Okay, so Allison Armstrong says, men are not hairy women. Okay, so literally I don't know why that guy didn't answer. He probably doesn't know why he didn't answer. I don't know. Maybe he was going to, and he saw a really funny meme, and then he sent it to his group chat of all his boys, and they started laughing, and then they started talking about something else, and then work came up, and then his mom called, and then he forgot. And maybe he's not into you. I don't know. But the question is, again, I'm going to ask you a higher quality question. What's the feeling you're trying to avoid by knowing the answer to that question? What's the feeling you're trying to avoid by having an answer to that question? My guess is you probably feel rejected and you're wanting to know what's the right thing, right? And the answer is he's not. That's the data, right? So you want to collect data, not drama. And I'm sure if you ask your girlfriends, that would be like a 45-minute conversation. So data is you send a text, he didn't answer. So what now what? Hopefully your funnel is full of quality guys and he just missed an opportunity and he goes to the bottom.
Yep, absolutely. And I just also want to mention here too that I mean, whatever's going on, right? We don't know your particular situation or what kind of history you have with this guy or anything like that. But what we do know, based on what you've said, is that something came up that's a higher priority in his life than you. And no response is also a response, and no message is a powerful message. And it's something that you need to listen to and say, okay, how attached am I to this right now in this situation and what's going on here? And like what Marni was talking about earlier with the whole thing. And I'm going to take the last part of it where she's like, next, right? But all of that stuff beforehand is leading up to that next. And it's, what you need to do is that stuff beforehand where you're having compassion for yourself, you're taking care of yourself, you're making yourself rejection proof. And then you get to the point where this stuff just, just rolls, just goes past you, just goes over you. And it's not even something that you hold on to because you have your own life. You have things that are important to you. You have your feelings of self-worth. You're out there. You're doing things that are important and you're not overly attached to this guy. And so I just wanted to throw that out there as well.
And I'm going to say and you might have all sorts of feelings about it, right? You might be really sad or mad. And I want you to have I want you to have all those feelings, right? Feel them, be like, this sucks. I really liked it. There's a story, there's your story, your truth. So don't be mad at yourself for asking the question or even having feelings. It's just showing you something. And on our campus, we call it bless and release, meaning that he may or may not be your guy, but send him blessings and love and hope that he's okay. And then release him, release him from the attachment. And if he's your guy, he comes back. And if he doesn't, you've blessed him and you've released him.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. I like that because it's giving positive energy out there, right? And it's leaving the world better off after you've touched it, than before you were there. And so I love everything about what you just said. So absolutely. Christina says, on a dating site, if you go on 5 dates or so, but he's still seeing other women, should you be okay with that or address it if you want to see them regularly?
Well, I think so. I'm all about context, and Matthew said that so beautifully. We don't even know the whole story. But one thing that I'm about is when you're rejecting proof, you're in control, which means that you get to ask a lot of questions, right? In a feminine, open-hearted, light way. Meaning, you've been on 5 dates and you say, I'm in a place where I'm looking for whatever you are, committed marriage. I'm looking to have a long-term partnership. I'm looking to retire with someone, whatever it is, right? Where are you? And he might say, oh, well, I'm just casually dating. I just got divorced 6 months ago. And, I'm not in a place to settle down. So I think what you want to do is I think after 5 dates, you totally get to share from a place of vulnerability what you're looking for and find out what he's looking for. He might not be ready to make a commitment. Maybe you are. I don't think you need to narrow it down after 5 dates, right? It's all context. So I think Christina, I want you to get to that place where you feel like you're in control so that you're asking some high quality questions and just be curious.
Yeah.
I would say curious, open, and optimistic, and approach it with that way. Not like, I saw that you're still online, like not that, right? But like curious, open, optimistic. Are you my guy? I need to know if we're looking for the same thing.
Yeah, for sure. And one of the things that I've noticed that a lot of women do who come to me, and I don't know if this is your situation or not, Christina, but they'll come and they're like looking for all the clues, right? And they're just like, oh, where are all the clues? I see this clue. And then, they want to like, weave around everything and then just, pull up all the clues like they're taking a quiz online or something, and then they're like, okay, this is the answer, right? And a better way, in my opinion, to do things is to have real conversations. I'm a huge fan of having just real conversations and just talking to people about stuff and just being like, hey, what do you want? What are you doing? What are you looking for? And also I want to mention too, mindset shift. And it's something that I talk a lot about as well, which is this idea of going from, trying to get this guy to trying to have this relationship and figuring out which guy is going to take you to this relationship, right? You're like, right, I have the flashlight metaphor where you're like shining your flashlight on where it is that you want to go, and you're waiting for the right guy to take you to the promised land, right? The guy that's going to take you there. And it's like, you're looking at this guy and, one, you have to, shine the light, right? You have to let him know where it is that you're looking to go. Otherwise he has no idea. And you can't just assume, you can't just say, oh, well, I've been acting this way, so he should just know, all that kind of stuff. Don't do any of that kind of stuff. Have real conversations. And, and like, like what I've talked about, I have this abundance principle where you're, dating multiple men and waiting for which one is going to take you there, right? Is he going to step up? Is he willing to take you to this relationship? And if he doesn't, it's not how do I fix him and change him and mold him into the right guy. It's, he's not qualifying himself. And some other guy will, because there's a lot of guys out there that want to have a great relationship with an amazing, beautiful woman like yourself. And that's what you should, that should be your standard, is that this is what you're looking for, and you want a guy that's going to take you there, and you're not going to settle for anything less and get attached to this guy and, try to force him and prod him and poke him and get him to do what
Ask him what he's thinking. Yeah. You remember, when you're in the top of that chart, right, you're the queen, right? And I love that you said, that you're dating dudes, and like, that's great. 5 dates. Like where is he? What is he looking for? And being empowered. And when you have that abundance mindset and you trust the process of dating, then if it's not him, you say, so what, now what? Right. And you just find your yeses. Find your yeses.
Find your yeses. That's right. So Farzana says, I also can't let go after 6 months of being left by my amazing fiance. Painful and in denial, feeling small. Do you have any suggestions around women that are, because this, I don't know how long they were together, but I'm guessing that was very painful.
Yeah. First of all, like, a couple things. One is I'm sending you so much love, because it's so hard when something that we care about ends. And so I think one of the most important things, like, I'm like a word detective. And you said, I also can't. And I think you might be beating yourself up a little bit that you can't. And it's making you feel small, not only for the rejection, but the fact that you're still in pain around it. So I would love for you to shine that flashlight on healing. Right. And use this time to really look at how could this breakup be something that carries you forward. One thing, an action step I can give you is coming up with a list of the things that you really seek in a partner, and put it away, right? And journal about it. Like if you want, like you can elaborate on it. What are the characteristics, like the values, not like tall, dark, and handsome, but like values. And then put it away and then come back. And then I want you to write some things about what didn't work in your relationship. Now, here's the thing. Not one relationship is perfect. So I want you to take off your rose-colored glasses and I just want you to start elaborating on what were some of the things that didn't work and how are some of those things making you feel. Because what I know is that when women do this and they're really honest, they start to understand that in some ways they're often connected to the idea of what the relationship was rather than what the relationship really was. So if that helps you, that's awesome. And if you still come up with like, no, he was like my ideal guy, then you have to be curious and say, you know what? I am going to continue to do this healing work. I'm going to be gentle with myself. I'm going to give myself some time. There's something better. I just don't, the flashlight isn't showing me yet what I'm supposed to see because I'm not supposed to be with this person. And it is painful. And it makes perfect sense. I think you could just start off with writing down, like, it makes perfect sense. I'm in a lot of pain because.
Yeah, absolutely. And I totally agree with that. And just to kind of add on to a little bit of what Marni was saying, just have compassion for yourself and the fact that you're feeling this and allow yourself to feel it and just go through it to the extent that you can, feel the emotions, release the emotions, let go of the emotions. And, doing that process, taking care of yourself, loving on yourself and doing all that and going through that, at some point you'll start to feel like you're kind of reaching this point where there's kind of like an empty space where you get to make a decision as to whether you want to hold on and stay attached to those feelings or whether you want to make a shift and shifting what it is that you focus on. And one of the things that we talk about a lot here is what you focus on, you feel, and what you feel, you receive. And so if you continue to focus on it, past that point of letting everything go, you're just going to hold on to it for, and keep replaying that same story over and over and over again. And the point here is to kind of create a new story and create a new life and create a new direction and create a future that you can see in your mind and with your heart that excites you. Because we can go through anything if we see a future that is far more exciting and more filled with love, more filled with passion, more filled with joy than the current moment or the past. And so make sure you're not getting stuck on the past and start imagining this future life for yourself that's going to be even more full of joy, that's going to be even more filled with a better relationship and a better life and all the emotions that you want to experience.
Absolutely. I always say, like, we only know what we know, and there's a whole lot of possibility, Farzana, of what you don't know. If he was amazing and he wasn't your person, imagine what it's like when he is your person, right? With the right person. So go through the process, and great possibilities are there for you. And I'm sending you a big hug.
Yeah, love it. Love it. Okay, so Trish says, what does Marni think about the abundance principle? So the abundance principle is a concept I have that's just, it's really, it's kind of been simplified by a lot of the women in our community, but really what it is what she's probably talking about is the concept of dating more than one guy at a time.
Yes.
So
Yes. Yeah, because I want you guys to feel you are choosing, and even if so, there's a thing that happens. I call it I met the most amazing guy syndrome. And what happens is you meet this guy and you're like, I met the most amazing guy, and then all of a sudden that's all you see. You're looking for a red car, and all you see is red cars. You have a bias, right? A bias to make him be your person. And so what happens is when you're dating multiple men, it forces you to be present with other possibilities. Your energy shifts even when you're with that amazing guy. which will probably translate to him not feeling like, oh my God, she's really into me. And then you feel like you're making a choice rather than just taking whoever is into you, or you're into, because you're looking to really see if this person has long-term possibilities. And that requires them showing up consistently over time in a certain way and really seeing if you have a values match. And you can't tell that on 3 dates or 3 months. So I would definitely recommend dating more than one guy at a time.
For sure. And just to add to that, we've had some amazing success stories just from this principle alone, where women have gone from, constantly trying to force different guys to be the right guy to all of a sudden, usually what I get when women make this switch is a lot of times they'll be like, I've got these different guys and I'm not sure which one to choose, right? Which is a high quality problem compared to the other one.
And,
right?
and then you're in control. Remember the top of that thing, right? You're in control. And then actually, and I know for some of you this sounds crazy, but like then dating is actually fun. You're choosing your right person for you, and that's a blast.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so Laura says, I'm dating a guy that just separated a guy after 15-year relationship. Through unforeseen circumstances, we are now in a long distance. He said he needs time to mourn. Do I wait for him?
I mean, it's another case of like, he's saying what he means and he's meaning what he's saying. So he's saying, I'm not emotionally available right now. And so Laura, like, you can put him on ice and be like, okay, because I'm in the abundance principle. I'm dating other guys. So what? That he's not ready. He's not ready. Look, I can tell you that when a guy says like, I'm not ready to be in a relationship, he's not ready to be in a relationship. That's not a ploy. He's basically saying I'm emotionally unavailable. And if you're attracted to that and you've got this pull to it, there's some part of you that's probably emotionally unavailable. So it feels safe. So I would see that as a great big neon sign of some work that you could do, because I don't want you to be even attracted to that guy.
Yeah, for sure. And also one other thing that you can do, I just want to throw this in there as well, is just have a conversation with him and say, ask him how long it's going to take. Because a lot of guys tend to know, right? They tend to know if they have other things. Like a lot of times we'll get women who will say that a guy, he's not ready or whatever. And if you ask him, he probably knows. And if you ask a guy, they'll usually give you some kind of rough figure like, oh, it's going to take me 3 months or 2 years or 5 years for me to get whatever figured out, and then I'll be ready. And that gives you kind of a time frame for, what you're kind of looking at there. And if he says that he doesn't know, then you should kind of take that as like, he's just unavailable. He's unavailable for you right now. And, if you're using the work that we've been talking about, Marni and I've been talking about, you're not going to be kind of stuck and attached to this one guy anyway. And there's going to be a whole bunch of other things that are available for you. And you can look at this and say, okay, well, he's not available. Great. If he does end up coming back and I'm still single, maybe we can talk about it. And if he, doesn't, that's fine too. And, if he comes back and you're not still single, that's great too. Right. So yeah, I mean, just don't, use the work, use the methodology, use our systems. Go visit dwdlive.com/challenge.
I'm challenging you to just trust the process for 5 days. Try to do a pivot and see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can tell I'm really about this challenge. I'm fired up and ready to go.
Yeah, jump on that rocket ship with Marni and take off. That's what you want to do. So, okay, we've run out of time here. So we're going to get going now, but thank you everybody for being with us today. I'm very honored for you allowing me to be a part of your journey. And thank you so much for being here. Marni, did you want to say any parting words?
I just, look, I really do believe that if we can become empowered women, then we create more love in the world. And I think what the world needs is more love. So if you want more light in the world, light up yourself. Find that self-love and come join us, because we're fired up and ready to go. And I'm so happy to have been here with you, Matthew. You're amazing.
Yeah, thank you. You're awesome. I'm glad we got to connect. If anybody that doesn't know, this is actually the first time that Marni and I have talked.
Our first date.
This is our first date right now. Yeah, and so thank you so much. And everybody, I will speak with you again soon. And always remember, you